This is not cool. So I went to the owner of the amplifier with that list of suggestions, and even though I got the amplifier repaired and working properly, he told me I want the amplifier to work perfectly for the next 15 years. And that means it's going to be a complete rebuild. So because of that, and the length of time that it takes to do all of that, we're going to split this video up into multiple sub-videos. The first is we're going to address the cabinet. So the grill cover is actually broken in 3 places. There, and cracked up here too. I'm not sure what I can do about this, except just replace it completely. This guy is the scarier thing, because you can't replace this without replacing the cabinet. So I'm going to have to figure out some way of repairing old fiberboard from the 70s. It's going to be interesting. So I've got the loudspeaker out, and as you can see, this is where that screw pulled through the baffle board. To be honest, it looks like it's been like that for a long time. The main reason is because all this debris on the loudspeaker. Don't think this is a new injury. So I contacted the owner regarding the broken grill cover. He said, I knew it was broken. The guy's got a CNC machine. He's going to make a new one of these himself. So good. I'm not going to touch this. However, I am going to have to figure out something with the baffle board. What I'm doing right now is I'm stabilizing the joint. I'll show you how I'm doing that. The baffle board on these old fenders is made out of an early version of MDF. It's particle board. So it's essentially bits of wood glued together under high pressure. So what I'm doing right now is I've got them glued together under high pressure using a couple of clamp cowls, just to stabilize this particular joint. Once I have that done, any voids in there, I'm going to fill with special wood epoxy. And that'll make it nice and strong, and it won't vibrate or do anything weird. There's another thing I'm going to do. See these screws? There's no washers installed on any of these screws. And I think that's the reason why this one down here pulled through that fiberboard. So I'm going to reinforce these with washers. I may even do a complete ring around the whole thing of 1/4-inch plywood. And there's space to do that because the grill cover has some room on it. Alright, this is what the repair looks like after all of that Titebond 3 has dried. The plan is now to place a 1/4-inch piece here. I can't place it all the way to the bottom because then the grill cover wouldn't attach properly. So you have to only cover part of it, squeeze it together, and then fill all this with wood epoxy. Okay, I've crafted my 1/4-inch plywood patch, shaped it to match the curvature of the opening, and glued it in place with a nice coating of Titebond 3. I've left 1 3/4 inches at the bottom, which should clear the grill cover. Okay, the little patch is installed. So now it's time to fill it. I'm going to use epoxy. In fact, I'm going to use this epoxy. I've never used this stuff before. We're going to see how it works. So this portion is glued on there, and that acts as a reinforcement. This is just held on with clamps. This little piece of wax paper in there. So the idea is to force as much epoxy into this void space as possible. Let it dry, and then remove this portion, and we go from there. Okay, the epoxy is set up, the hole is drilled. I took this opportunity to actually tap this hole so it accepts this 832 screw that was used for the other ones. I supplied washers all around so that it shouldn't pull through anymore. Now let's paint it up. Time for the time lapse. this should dry flat black. This is the only cosmetic thing I'm going to do to the amplifier, but I had to paint this, cover up my patch here that I needed to support that area that was missing. The baffle board is done and the speaker is firmly affixed to it. Added some lock washers to the bolts. There's no sign of them pulling through with these washers on there, and everything is good. On to the next bit.
Gone, but the